Chief David Midegah has joined us. Um, we had some time, and so I wanted to hear Jody or Sister Taylor. I love calling people like brother and sister. My
Hey,
dad at a young age said, "Hey, it's sister, it's brother. We're all brothers and sisters." So thank you, Sister Taylor, and Chief David Midegah joining us. So nice to see you. Welcome to the Key of David podcast. I got to tell you, we have been enjoying your videos, and the spirit of the remnant is waking up. And so we are so excited to have you. Thanks for joining us. I have a couple of my co-hosts, David Douglas and Trevor Keys. That's where we get the Key of David podcast. And
oh, that's wonderful.
and I'm Shane Baldwin. So thank you so much for coming on here. Um, for our audience, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us a brief overview of who you are, and we'll go from there. I got a ton of questions,
Yeah.
and if you have questions for us, feel free to fire away. And just to briefly give you a little bit of background too from my side, as I've listened to you talk. So my great great grandmother is a lady named Rebecca Beers. She was taught by Oliver Cowdery. She was the first Native American to join the LDS Church. And so that's on my grandmother's side. My
Maybe
father, maybe,
we'll go there in a minute. Maybe they were
okay.
together. We'll talk about that in a second.
And then on my father's side, the Baldwin side, a guy named Caleb Baldwin was in Liberty Jail with Joseph Smith. So I have this convergence happening as well, and I just feel connected in a great way. You're the second chief that we've talked to, but that's a little background. David's got some Cherokee in him. I mean, so we all got a little
Haudenosaunee.
bit. Yes.
I am an orphan.
We
I
don't.
know. Go ahead.
Well, I'm bad at cutting people off. I'll tell you what. I don't know what I came into, but I got a little emotional here. Walked into really feeling the spirit hit me through the screen. You know, these light boxes, not to cut you off, but these light boxes, they're used for bad things and good things. You know, the bad things, the propaganda in your house, the good things. Look, we're talking right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll let you keep
Let
going.
me let me share briefly that and when Jody and I we got to talk briefly before earlier this morning, but my Cherokee comes from my grandfather Leon Garland Foster, and his Cherokee comes from Nancy Carruthers, and yeah, um
Hello, my relation.
yeah,
Your Haudenosaunee, that many don't know that the five nations of New York, the Tuscarora, as well as the Cherokee were one people along the East Coast, and they have their own story. And while those that are British calling themselves Americans after an Italian explorer that skirted along the coast in 1502 to see if Christopher Columbus was telling the truth, is this Asia? I'm going to go check. No, it's not. You come from a really noble people.
well,
Yeah.
well, I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah. So
Well,
I'd say,
Chief
yeah.
Midegah, give us some background and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I do want to say for those that are watching, and this is sort of the aftermath of what maybe was a flood that came a little faster for most than what they were expecting. You know, I'd say I want to honor my ancestors who have walked on the land, and so I want to speak their tongue and to speak to them first, because we know, especially you that are Latter-day Saints, that we were spirits prior to coming here, and we're spirits when we leave here, and the spirits that came here before with the spirits that are going to come here. And there's more of them than there are us. And they're relying on us to bridge the gap, especially right now before we reach charred earth, which isn't going to happen because our creator's a loving God. He'd never let that happen. Hey, your child picks up the remote and starts playing crazy. Before you destroy his entire entertainment center, he's going to take it away and be like, hold on a second here. Let me show you what's going on. So I'd say, ni, ganina na bojo, mirio gichi daan indigo Ojibway mung, adik sangab nindu dem, mini wakan nindunja ba. I'd say, ni means I see your spirit, I see your light. That's how we said hello, because it didn't matter what you looked like on the outside. It's what's right there looking through those eyes. We'd say, ginina na bojo, is the creator working in your life? Are you a reflection of the creator? It matters more what's in your heart. That's what we're looking at. What's the heart of the matter? Someone told me that one time from Utah. That guy was a little wild, but he was true on that part. I'm called the kind warrior man of the Ojibway people. We are Anishinaabe, we are Ojibwa, and we are Ojibway. We are 3 in 1. We don't get all wrapped up about that because we know we're spirits tethered to this earth. We're spirits in a body, Ojibwa, spirits tethered to the earth, lowered, Anishinaabe, and then we're Ojibways. I'm recording a vision with the Creator, but so are you. You are also Anishinaabe, Ojibwa, and Ojibway. I'm not different than you. I'm from the Standing Firm Deer family. The Standing Firm was because of another issue, but we're the Great Deer family. We're from one of the original 7 clans that were organized of the Algonquin Anishinaabe. There are now 49, as over the last 7 generations, they have had subdivisions of 7 for each clan, which again, you know, the elk dudum is the same as the caribou dudum. It's just where they're at. I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but I am also a member of the Midegah, or the people who call themselves kindness, that was established by the great peacemaker when he walked amongst us in the 7 nations of North America. Now you may say, gosh, there's like 600 tribes. No, there's not. Language is family, and there are only 7 of them, and he walks amongst them all.
Do you speak Algonquin? Is that the language that your tribe speaks or derives from?
Yep. So it can be called many things depending upon the expression of the identity you pick. So it can be called Anishinaabe-Moan, Ojibwe-Moan, or Algonquin. It's the same. And this language is spoken by the Mi'kmaq people on the East Coast all the way to the Nez Perce of Northeast Oregon, where I was born and grew up. Because we had
so are you familiar with the Wampanoag? Did I say that right? The Wampanoag.
Oh yeah,
people?
I know all about the Wampanoag. And
so that's where I come from.
Hey, you know a little bit about the Thanksgiving story then.
Yes.
You know, in the late 1890s, when they decided to make this a holiday, they happened to choose the day of genocide, or a point of genocide, when in 1626 or 27, there's disputes. The Puritans fasted for 3 days, and on the 4th day, they headed out. And they murdered the last 700 of the Pequot Indians. They're a family. And it's the first image of genocide. This is important to talk about the significance of your ancestors, because they're the ones that warned us. Maybe these aren't the brothers we were waiting for. But the brothers we were waiting for were the ones that came through the hearts of Joseph Smith, that he said, hey, wait a minute, maybe we need to plumb line ourselves here. And so what happened is the first image of genocide was a drawing of that massacre that was sent to England. It was published in the London newspaper. And that's the first image of genocide in the recorded world history. We know there's been lots of genocide. It's the first one someone made a picture of. You know, the first photograph of genocide was in the 1890 Wounded Knee Massacre, where all those American soldiers stood over the grave of those mothers and children, who and those men received 20 medals of honor that they still won't take away. So, you know, are they really sorry? But the Wampanoag were the ones that they sent 90 warriors to circle around the outside of those Puritan camp in case they came for them next. And so they had time to get their women and children away, because we're talking about families here. And the Wampanoag for the last 400 years have been holding a memorial for that. And so even today, when Thanksgiving's held up there just in Massachusetts, just on the other side of the mountain, the Wampanoag are having the memorial ceremony for those murdered families. And so we have nothing but utmost respect and honor for the Wampanoag tribe, and they're a family, and we honor them. So yeah. So I am LDS, just to let you know.
Quick question for you. So as we've watched your videos, and they've literally gone viral. I mean, you got some viral videos out there. Do you feel like the spirit that Isaiah talks about, that Nephi talks about, this remnant that is in the last day, is this Native American group, that is that remnant that exists here, that Jewish relation? Because I get that sense as you speak that it's starting to wake up, and it needs to wake up inside of the LDS community as well. And we need to recognize that, hey, these people that we read about in the Book of Mormon that we so love, they're here on the earth right now. Their ancestors are here on the earth right now. Do you feel like that's happening right now?
Absolutely is. You know, we had 8 prophets appear 5 to 6 generations before the Europeans arrived, and they showed up along the eastern coast, and they gave us what you would Google called the 7 Fires prophecy. They said, hey, listen, the sacred teachings you have, which are literally you're keeping by the thread anyways, because we had our own continental issue with those that believed that the heart was the path to the creator. Well, there were those that took that as how it was actually given by the people. And let me finish this, because this is critical to understand why it is we're doing what we're doing, and why I'm an Ojibway, was a ceremonial messenger to you, being sent because I'm from you. I am from the Smith family. I am from the Millet family. Artemis Millet, who built that temple in Kirtland, is my grandfather. I am from the Taylor family. I am from the Young family. And so who to come and speak to you but me, an Ogima of a Dudem? You know, I am first. This is another thing blowing up as I get into this. You know, chief of what? I am a headman of a Dudem, and that's the principal leadership. Secondarily, I represent 2 treaties in all state and federal cases related. So I'm a treaty chief as well. They call that a signatory. And lastly, I'm a messenger to you because I'm from your family. And these messengers, many generations said, you need to go west and safeguard what you have. It's going to disappear, but enough is going to survive that when you hit this 7th age, as we tell you chapters that will happen in your journey of struggle, that in this 7th age, there's going to be a miracle. Enough is going to survive that you're going to lead to the harmony or unity of all humankind who are your brothers. And so we are the last ones to be able to speak. And we are also the last ones to come out of a genocide. And so that is absolutely what is happening right now as we speak. And for the last 40 years, great chiefs, like spiritual traditional chiefs, not ones elected for 2-year cycles that go psycho and build themselves big houses and get the big cars and then go sit away because, you know, they help the machine chop up a little bit more. The ones that carried the real heart from the peacemaker who came and walked with us. Arvo Looking Horse, Chief Phil Lane of the Chickasaw. Again, people who tell you and try to tell a European in America, and I guess the Americans today, you know, that they came in on the West Coast and there were people here and they walked across the continent. They crossed the Mississippi before dams. It's like crossing the Red Sea back in the day when they found themselves in the Southeast. They've been unifying indigenous groups around the world. And we're now speaking as one from the north to the south, even with those that we have been separated from spiritually, even though before you came, we had already been at the aftermath of a real war about, as I alluded to a minute ago, which was that we believe the path of the heart was the way to the creator. It's in your heart. Live with your heart. Well, there were those to the south who outnumber us 10-1, even today, who took that literal and said, then you got to give it up. And they drag people to the top of altars and tear that heart out of your chest, hold it up in the sky. Oh, you've made it there because you gave your heart. No. When we talk about the path of the heart, which is why we've been saved for this moment, we're talking about remembering how much did Jesus love his mother? How much did his mother influence his life? When we say, how should we treat each other? And he said, hey, you better love the creator. You better love your Father in heaven, because not only is there only one, but he also sustains that is in all things that you see, even yourself. Show some respect. And number 2, you're pretty sacred and special in creation. You are, as a human. Your intellect is made, the spirit in you is in the image of the creator. We need to deal more kindly with each other and protect human life. That's a very critically important thing, especially right now. That when they said, how do we do it? How did we do it? Well, he gave us some extra information. Don't ever forget, this is another thing, authority. And I'm going to get there. Just let me get there. Okay. He called 12 apostles in our land too, 12 chief elders. 3 of those would endure to the end. And we have a relationship with those 3. and they made sure remnants existed. And their authority wasn't removed. We just dwindled to where not a lot left. And Joseph Smith went to Kirtland and he received the keys from the other continent to act on this continent with the keys that were already here, coming together as one. And when he said, how do we do that? He said, well, you got to treat each other as you want to be treated. Well, how's that? Well, remember, your first baptism was your birth from that womb, that water of that womb in your mother. And that's the place where you first heard your very first experience, sound, feeling. That's your mom's heartbeat. That's why we beat the drum. Take away all the experiences that make you, hateful or hurtful or judgmental. Go back to that same place we all share. We're in that womb. And we know we're not alone because we hear our mother's heart. We feel it. Then we feel it in ourselves. It's in us. So we need to act with the love of the mother. And what does she do? Well, we see it today. You could be a convicted murderer and the mom's standing right next to him, loving him to the end. That's unconditional love. That's the love our Creator and Savior has for us. That's been forgotten today. And if the keys to judgment haven't been given to you, and I'll say this as a side slot, if you're not a bishop or a stake president, what are you doing judging each other? You don't have the right to do that. So yes, right now is the time where we're gathering and heading to the east for this fall in September, coinciding exactly the same with this meeting in Wisconsin. We're bringing all of our sacred teachings that have been hidden. Why were they hidden? These Europeans were trying to destroy it. They'd catch anything, they'd burn it to the ground so that we can remind you what you're saying is true. And if it's true, then maybe we should do things a little differently because he's coming back. And when he comes back, is he going to give you a mulligan? I don't know about that. I just didn't know. Well, we're going to make it so that you don't have the ability to just say you're acting just by faith alone, that it's a fact. And if it's a fact and a truth, you can't deny it. And if you deny it, then you have chosen your canoe.
And so your group has scrolls, information, stories, and you're going to basically get with everybody else that has their scrolls, their stories, and share those things. And ultimately, we got the Book of Mormon here, and all of this is converging together to show, one, hey, the Book of Mormon's true, but listen, there's a ton of other people with records and stories that basically confirm what is in the Book of Mormon.
That's right. Elder Holland even said the Book of Mormon is 1/100th. And imagine being Mormon. You're a guy in a hall of records. And I don't see that as a derogatory name. That is a man who walked and lived on this earth and chose to follow the Creator of all things seen and unseen, so much so that he did as I do. He made sure his son knew everything in his heart. And he didn't have the opportunity to record his life cycle. So he said, what is it do I got to choose that is important enough for the future? And he was led by the Spirit to grab 1/100th and flee to the north. Where are we at? We're found in the north. What do you find in the north? You find those that went to the opposite extreme. They were so concerned that people would return back to believing that it was transactional. You got to give your heart. Hey, brother, I'm going to hold you down and tear it out of your chest. Well, you're going to go to heaven, right? That they put the grandmothers in charge. And that's what the Europeans found, was the grandmothers in charge. And so you're absolutely correct. That's what's happening, is we're gathering together and bringing them all together. But this is like round 2. I currently carry 4 scrolls. They're in 8 parts. You could say 4 scrolls, 8 scrolls. There are 8 messages, but there are hundreds that were hidden away. And the only reason they were hidden away when they came to those in the north was because of the Jesuits in the 1640s. They finally came to Sault Ste. Marie. We called it the place of rapids. We're the center of Garden River Ojibway Nation, within which is the cave where the first mother and father are buried. And you are not wrong to say Adam and Eve were upon this land. And we presented all of them to them. And they said, verbatim, you will make a new Bible. And they started burning everything. And we said, We just have more of the story than you. You're our brothers. What are you doing? So these things were taken and hidden away, but we already knew this would happen. We just had hoped that the first ones that came on the East Coast proved to be the brother of like war. And we thought when the Catholics showed up that they would be the brother of kindness. No, they were the brothers of war. And so we're bringing those out to sustain a few things. One, yes, we did come to this continent following the flood. The first story shared with the Orthodox rabbis, and we went to the most hardcore first, was because if they accept it, then everybody else, what's your problem? And the first story shared with them was, after the flood, we were all together and we tried to touch the Creator. We made a mountain. No, we did it too soon. And then we walked ourselves in. Other migrations came. Other migrations came after that. But yes, the first people before the flood were upon that continent. Yes, the garden was upon that continent. Yes, there was a flaming sword that we would call light, a change of light that changed the way we see things. And we know now we only see, because scientifically, the last 100 years, that photons bounce off of atomic elements in their accumulations, but we know there's vast distance between them. And that produces this rainbow around you. But most of it's not that. And that was cast before our eyes. And because of that, they built a city in the place that they thought that that garden was prior. And that's right there where they find these things and along the Mississippi River where the four rivers meet. That's the Mississippi, the Ohio River, and that Missouri River. It's right there. He wasn't wrong. But we didn't have an opportunity to speak then. So I know I'm dumping a lot of things.
No, this is incredible. So what can those that, and I call myself Mormon, what can those that are Mormon do to support our brothers and our sisters in their effort to bring more of that truth forward? Like, what can Mormons that are watching this do to support our brothers and sisters? Because I know I'm so grateful for the Book of Mormon and the teachings of the Book of Mormon. I read it every day. I love it. I would die for it, right? So what can we do to support the Ojibways or the Cherokees or all of these nations that are now coming together, and we're now in a place where we can create these platforms where they can speak and tell their stories and their truths to confirm what we've learned in the Book of Mormon?
Well, we can speak your language too now. That's another gift.